Hello, everyone. Welcome to the JANM Digital Film Festival. My name is Joy Yamaguchi. I'm the Public Programs Coordinator at the Japanese American National Museum. Gonna give folks a few minutes to trickle in and before we start the program, but I hope that everyone got a chance to watch the film online. It is live right here on this YouTube channel, so please check it out if you haven't already been following this program. I see we have some folks watching already. Also a reminder that if you want to ask any questions today, you can put those in the chat. It's the live, you're going to need a YouTube account because it is the live chat here. So definitely if you have any questions as we're having this conversation, please leave those in the chat. So as I mentioned, I'm the Public Programs Coordinator at the Japanese American National Museum, and I'm so grateful that you're taking some time on this Friday evening to join us for part of our JANM Digital Film Festival series. This is a series where we highlight different films made by our Watase Media Arts Center, including the one we're talking about today, about Madame Fujima Kansuma. And then we have Q&As like this. So we've had some other ones that we've done already, and those are going to be all in the playlist for the JANM Digital Film Festival on this YouTube channel. So I hope you check those out. We're also having lots of other digital programming during this time. While our museum is not open to the public physically, we are continuing on with JANM from home. So this is one of those programs, but we have lots of other programs like book talks and workshops that we hope that you are able to attend, and you can find out more about those at janm.org. So that's janm.org. And finally, a few logistical notes. This program is going to run for about an hour. As I mentioned before, you can leave your questions in the YouTube chat feature if you're watching this live. And we will be adding captioning after the program so that it'll be closed captioned for accessibility. And then finally, I want to introduce all of the people who are going to be joining me today. So first we have Yuka Murakami. She is one of the staff members here at the Japanese American National Museum, and she's also the filmmaker for this film that we're talking about today, and wonderful creative artist herself. So thank you for joining today, Yuka. And then we also are going to have June Berk, who is a longtime student of Madame Kansuma and a beloved JANM volunteer as well. And we're so excited to have you today, and it's so great to see you. And then finally, we have Miyako Tachibana, who is a master kabuki dancer and teacher herself, and also the daughter of our featured artist today. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I know I did a brief introduction for everyone, but I wanted to see if folks wanted to introduce themselves any further. And then I know also Yuka wanted to talk a little bit more about the larger themes of this film. So I'm going to pass it on to you.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have other things you want to add to your introduction, but I work at JANM, part of the Media Arts Center, MAC, and we've been working to provide content for folks at home during this time in confinement, and we've been kind of digging into past works that we produced, and this one really fit, I think, to you know, tie connections to the war and yeah, how Japanese Americans were confined then and how we're kind of all also confined now. Of course, very different circumstances, but Madame Kansuma was a huge inspiration for a lot of folks who were incarcerated. And yeah, we wanted to really touch on these themes of art and culture and yeah, how important that is to keep alive and keep creating during these times. Yeah, and also, you know, as a woman, Madame Kansuma, I think, overcame a lot of prejudice and discrimination too during her years, and despite despite the difficulty, she was extremely successful and really touched a lot of people like June, a longtime student of hers. And Miyako also became a kabuki dancer. So we really wanted to celebrate her legacy. And yeah, she turned 102 last month. So that's a really huge accomplishment. And yeah, I think that's it. Think you're muted.
Oh, thank you so much.
Mhm.
June or Miyako, is there anything else that I missed in the introduction that you would like to share about yourself before we get started?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Um, I worked with Yuka when they celebrated my mother's 100th birthday, and she was just a real delight to work with and to, to kind of like figure out how to present my mother the way she wanted to be presented. And I really thought the film just came out beautifully, and her work was just wonderful. And she was just really a lovely person, and I'm so happy I could be here to do this with you. And June has just been a fan of my mother's before I was even born, so she probably knows more about my mother than I do. So I will probably learn a lot about my mother this evening. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you. June, did you want to say something?
Hi, my name is June, and I think I got the sun in my eye. I'm trying to figure out how to do this, but thank you for inviting me to join all of you on this program. And I feel very honored to be here as one of Osho-san's students. And yes, I did take lessons from her from the time I was about 5 years old, which was back in the 1930s. So I've known her for a long time, and I am still amazed at her. I just can't thank her enough for all the gifts that she's given to all of us students, and also the gift that she's given not only to the community, but also to the people while we were incarcerated in camp. I think she lifted everyone's spirits then, and I'd like to tell you more about that.
I actually think that could be a really great place to start. I would love if you could kind of talk a little bit more about your early years dancing with her and the experience of dancing in camp as well, because I think that that's a really powerful story that I just learned about when I watched this film myself.
I'm sorry, were you talking to me or Yuka?
I'm talking to you because you have that firsthand experience of learning from her from a young age. So I'd love if you could talk a little bit more about that experience.
Yes, Osho-san had a studio right in Little Tokyo before the war. And it was on San Pedro between 1st and 2nd Street. She had a beautiful big studio, and we all went in there and we had to sit very quietly, and we had to watch everybody take their turns, get their lessons. And we couldn't sit down until we got everything down perfect. Our hands, our feet, our head, our eyes. And there are many times when we tried and we couldn't get it right the way she does it. But then she was always patient with us, and we danced on numerous stages in Little Tokyo. And I remember how thrilled I was to watch her dance. I think she just made you feel like she was dancing just for you. You were the only person in the audience, and she just put her whole attention on you. And she mesmerized everybody. When the first curtains first opened, you expect to see something exciting. And then when she came on stage, we were all just like mesmerized. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. She was so beautiful. And her dancing was so she was dancing like you're the only person in the audience. And I think that's why she was so captivating. She made us all feel like we're the only ones that mattered to her. And when we went to camp, she did the same thing. She danced to please the audience, and she knew that people were very disheartened, depressed, very sad. So she wanted to make sure that her dances lifted everyone's spirits. And some of those pictures that we have of her dancing in camp, and she danced like, excuse me, she, one of the dances, she danced like a prince that Urashima Taro, I don't know if you remember the story, but he goes off to an island, and he's there for many years. And when he comes back from the island, a lady gives him a box and says, "Don't open this box. Whatever you do, do not open this box." And then the curiosity gets to him, and he opens the box, and instantly he turns into an old man. It's her dancing from being a young prince to an old man was incredible. It's just magical to watch her dance. I don't know how she does that and how she did that, but she wanted to convey the feeling that we're all in this camp. We never know when we're going to get out of the camp, and who knows what's going to happen when we get out of camp. So she did this dance to please the audience in camp. And then there was another dance that she did with Tange Sazen, which is a samurai, where she portrays a samurai with one eye and one arm. And this is a dance that she does to try to give the men in the camp strength and dignity and never to give up. She portrays this samurai. I think there's a picture of her playing the role of the samurai. And this is a famous story in kabuki. And she brings the stories alive to all of us, and through her dance and her choreography. It's amazing. I just couldn't get enough of watching her. That's her as Tange Sazen, and one arm, one eye bandit, who saves the town people from the, quote, the bad guys. The other dance that she did was she wanted to let all of us feel, she wanted to show us something very beautiful. So she would dance the dance of Konya Takao, a dance of a beautiful courtesan. And it was like bringing a ukiyo-e or hiroshige painting alive. And she would dance this dance. As beautiful as a person I've ever seen, like a dream. And I heard that there were men who were just crying in the audience because the image of her and her beauty was so compelling. It was just mesmerizing. And everybody in the audience was just enthralled with her. And to have this kind of gift given to us in camp was just incredible. So that's what I remember about Osho-san in camp. And we continue to practice, we continue to try to learn. But the highlight of watching her dance, I think, was the highlight of being in camp with her.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Miyako, I think that I was wondering if you could talk more kind of about that, because I know that like Yuka mentioned briefly, her experience in camp really and before broke a lot of gender barriers in kabuki, as well as these like racial barriers in the US. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about what you know about her experience with that.
Well, she started off when she was 9, and she started her lessons, which transitioned to shoujo kabuki, which was an all-girls kabuki. And it was exclusively girls, and it was a kabuki troupe that toured in California and Hawaii. And after that, she wanted to learn from the best, which was probably an impossible dream. But, I just really think God had a plan and God made a way, and she was able to meet the god of kabuki. And, when I really started thinking about it, I think it is very kind of unfathomable that the god of kabuki would meet a gaijin. I mean, she's not a Japanese, she is a Japanese American, that he agreed to meet with her, and she's a girl, and she's a teenager. But my mother's story told me at that time there was a superstar named Matsui Sumako. My mother's name is Sumako. So when they said Sumako from America has come, he just said, "Oh, Matsui Sumako." And he was a great admirer of her. And he goes, "Let's meet this Sumako." And that just kind of opened the door for her. And, timing was perfect. He was going to start this Hayugako, who he collected the master of every art form, from Kiyomoto to Tokiwazu to Narimono. And my mother was invited to start the Hayugako. And I think what kind of really amazes me is that he gave his most treasured dance, the dance he loved the most, to a foreigner. I mean, that's quite a remarkable gesture. And I think he trusted her, and he said, "I want you to take this dance back to America and introduce our culture and show how beautiful our culture is to America." So I think he had a very big vision. He wanted art to reach globally and wanted to be appreciated by the world. So I think that gesture kind of spoke volumes when I heard that story. And so when she came back and internment started, there was a very remarkable man. He spent a lot of time in Tokyo, in Japan. He taught in Tokyo. He was in Tokyo. He was a minister, and he was in Tokyo when they had the major earthquake in 1923. And he tried to help the Japanese, who were it was total chaos and crisis and uncertainty. So he tried to do what he can to help them. He met his wife in Japan when she was on a missions trip, and they had their children in Japan. He spoke Japanese, and I think he had a heart for the Japanese. So when internment started, he was commissioned to be a civil servant, and he was given the title of Director of Health Services. And as he was at camp, he noticed that letters were coming in to seek Fujima Kansuma if they could come to take lessons, continue lessons with her. And as these letters kept coming, he sought her out and said, "Maybe you should go to the camps and dance at the camps." And then eventually this led to inviting his community of people, his friends from Little Rock, to come to the performances and to enjoy the performances. And then before you know it, it was like she was like a goodwill ambassador. This is all according to my mother, a goodwill ambassador to like Christian events and campuses. And in the pictures that I saw, actually there is a picture of, yes, okay, so this is Dr. Hunter and his wife, Barry, and his son, Jack. And that's my mother with to her right. And that's her mother, my grandmother. So they just kind of really embraced them and took them in, and just really wanted to use her art to connect communities and to connect people and to just help the injustices that was done to the Japanese American. He just wanted to help in any way he could. So I just thought that art was very powerful, that it could accomplish that. And then I'm told this man, the other picture, when he was leaving the internment, his administration work, he specifically asked for my mother to dance for his farewell party. So it says a lot about her art, that people wanted to see it. People wanted to see it for the last time when they were leaving camp, and it touched their hearts. So to me, it just shows the power of her art, how it can just bring people together. And as far as racial, you know, I think she's just been very blessed. I mean, she doesn't ever say that they were mean to her or they treated her rudely, or in general, my mother kind of embodies Japanese poise and artistry and elegance. So, I mean, I think that was very helpful in kind of breaking racial tension. Is there anything else?
No, definitely. I think that that's so interesting to hear, and I think it's a really different story of camp than we often hear about her being able to perform and kind of cross these barriers, which I think is really fascinating.
This is the book he wrote. And in this book, along the way, there's a pretty good section of his experiences during the internment. And there's a little segment written about my mother and his experiences with her, and her. He just said her goodbye dance was just something that he'll never forget. It was an evening of Asian elegance and beauty and poise that will be unforgettable. And he will hold her friendship as long as he lives. So I just thought that was very moving for me. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is, like, when June's pictures of my mother's Konya Takao and Urashima, do you want to go back to the pictures? Oh, can we go back to the pictures? The Urashima and the Konya Takao. Okay, this is, okay. That's Tangezazen. Okay, the lady picture, yes, this one, Konya Takao. So when she was portraying this character, she didn't have the hair ornaments, the correct hair ornaments to do this dance, to perform this dance. And so I think her mother and maybe students tried to make things out of bamboo or whatever materials they can find during camp. But there was one woman who was so moved by her performance of Konya Takao that she had an heirloom of bekko, which is tortoiseshell, which is the hair ornament that you wear for this character. And she said, she gave them to my mother, and she said, I would be so happy and honored if you could use my hair ornaments when you perform this dance. So so after that, my mother used her kanzashi to perform Konya Takao. And I think from another perspective, when I look at this picture, you see the bridge and you see the backdrop of the river and the mountains. Someone had to make that, and someone had to draw that. And so I just feel that many, many, many people were part of this production. And I think my mother is so grateful that, they all came together and tried to make the best of a bad situation to bring some, some spark of joy and beauty to an uncertain, in times of uncertainty. And it's, I just see the Japanese American as such a resourceful people who, out of the materials they can find, I mean, that's pretty awesome if you ask me. And even the Urashima with the waves. Can we see that picture? Oh, this is time. Okay, yes, this is Urashima. So you could see someone had to draw that ocean for her, which is a pretty amazing ocean, if you ask me. So, I think when you look at the big picture, art can really bring people together to create something really remarkable to uplift people in really bad times.
Yes, I and the picture of Tangus,
yes,
she didn't have that costume.
Yes.
So she had her mother order some bed sheets from the catalog, Sears Roebuck catalog, and her mother made that outfit for her. These scenes that you're talking about were all drawn by the fathers and the men. And like you say, they're just incredibly beautiful. And like you say, it took everybody to put it together.
Yeah, that's a really incredible story. And just, I think you're right when you say it really embodies that idea of resilience and, yeah, just wonderful, incredible creativity that I think we see to this day.
Yeah.
I know we were going to talk about this a little bit later, but I'm curious then, you were talking about kind of being moving through difficult times, and a couple, like, I don't remember what year it was that she choreographed the Nisei Week parade dance, right? And unfortunately this year, because of so many circumstances, Nisei Week is canceled. So I was kind of wondering what your reflections are on the lessons that you learned from her about keeping these community ties strong, keeping the art alive during times of separation and isolation or times of difficulty.
Well, I have to tell you, this has been a real challenge. and we did start a practice, and it's really hard to keep 6 feet apart, no matter how hard you try. So we're doing our best to keep. But originally when I talked to my mother, she goes, originally it's one-on-one. It's the student and the teacher, and that's how it starts. So she was saying, so I guess we go back to how it starts. But I think organizations such as yourself, JANM, that tries to reach out to the community virtually. And then I know JCCC is trying to celebrate Keiro no Hi virtually. And they're doing everything they can to help us still bring the art to these wonderful events. And, we've never done a virtual program. So it will be a first for us. I know it's very popular now. I know a lot of friends take line dancing virtually and take yoga virtually. And so, it's just a whole new way of living day to day. But so we will see. We will see how many girls we can get to rehearsal and social distance 6 feet apart. It will be a challenge, but unless you try, you never know. But the community, I think, has been great. I mean, been supportive. How can we help you? What can we do to make it successful? It's in that respect, I think we're truly fortunate and blessed. Yes.
I think that Japanese dancing is so integral to the community that people come out and want to dance as a group, and some people will be dancing with their dance groups, and others will just want to come out and dance. And I think helping to keep that Japanese heritage alive. The community coming out, even though we'll miss it this year, we missed it during the war years. The last Nisei week was 1940, and then we didn't have any more Nisei week until 1949 because of camp. But then everybody came back, and then the dancing began again, and everybody in the community participated. So it's so important to do that dancing, to have everybody still come out and feel a part of the community. I feel that no matter how long you're separated, no matter, even though we were in camp for 9 years, I mean, we weren't in camp for 9 years, but there was no Nisei week for 9 years until 1949, when we had Nisei week start again. So I think the people are just want to come out and support it, and people are there to be a part of the community again. And that's what's so exciting about dancing. And I hope Osho-san is the choreographer again.
Yeah, and I think on that, one of the other questions that we had was how, I know within that choreography, and it's kind of shown in the film as well, you're described as being your mother's legs. And so I was kind of wondering about how you felt about like that phrasing, and then also just how your mother's legacy has impacted your own relationship with dancing the arts, and that's specifically to you, Miyako.
Okay. Yes, when I first heard that phrase, I'm my mother's legs, I really felt like I'm her gopher. You know, I go for this, I go for that, and I really identified with that. But as far as my relationship with dancing, I think originally, or initially, when you're just small, my capacity was just to learn the dance, execute the dance, and try not to mess up and disappoint anyone. And that's all I was probably capable of. And then gradually, as you get older and you start getting more involved in pre-production, post-production. And then when you start working with like costume designers and wig people and wig masters who have to coordinate or collaborate with the hair ornament designer, and then the costume designer has to collaborate with the obi designer, you start to realize all the number of artists and artisans that are behind one dancer, one character. And you start looking at dance in a very different perspective. And then I kind of thought about my mother when she came here, and she didn't have the luxury of a costume designer or a wig master, but she did have a wonderful body of parents. I mean, phenomenal body of parents who all rallied together to do what it takes to put on the production that she has in mind. And so you have fathers making backdrops, big props, little props. You have mothers creating cherry blossoms, plum blossoms. They even make the kanzashi that they replicate pretty, I mean, sometimes it's very hard to tell which one came from Japan and which one, was made here. So, and then the wonderful part about it is their daughters have learned this skill too. I mean, they've seen their mother do it, and so it's kind of handed down. And then now with this technology that we have now, we have, students who are just wonderful online and find these great, cherry blossoms online. And so it really does take a village to make something magnificent. It's just not, it really takes a lot of people, a lot of collaboration, a lot of manpower, a lot of man hours. And but I do believe it really connects them too. And it's kind of like an arts and craft table here, and and they're so resourceful. I mean, they may not have the silk fabric that's as fine as tissue paper here as in Japan, but they find ways of getting it done.
I could remember my mother making my dance costume in camp. She ordered the fabric from Sears Roebuck, and she would stay up all night hand sewing the costume for us to dance in.
Yes.
I just want to add that Miyako Sensei is by herself a renowned kabuki teacher now. Call it a natori, but I don't know. It's called a teacher and an artist by her own right. So as Osho-san has been an icon in Little Tokyo from the 30s, and she has, even to this day, she's still there. I'm so thrilled that Miyako Sensei is there to take over that legacy. And I think of all the people and places and restaurants and whatever in Little Tokyo, there's only one person who has lasted all these years from the 30s to now. And that's Osho-san. I mean, she's incredible. Her energy, and she can still sit in a chair and show you how to dance, like in that movie. But I'm so thrilled that Miyako Sensei is taking over and will hopefully continue that legacy of the Japanese kabuki odori.
Well, I can tell you, I don't hold a candle to my mother, but she started dancing because she was always getting sick, and the doctor thought, maybe some type of exercise would be, helpful to get her healthier. And who would have known that sick little girl would live to 102? I mean, but I do believe it's her creative spirit. Her switch for creativity just never is turned off. It's like everything she sees, she can kind of relate it to a dance or a movement, or how can I do this? And I think one comment she made was there was a girl in shoujo kabuki that she just really admired. She thought she was just super good. She just, I want to dance like her. And she did a drunken roll. And so my mother wanted to know, well, how do you dance drunk? So I have to give my mother courage. Being so young, she went up to a drunken man and said, why do you walk like that? Why can't you walk straight? And he said, because the street is moving and I have to stay, with the street. So she seeks out, she wants to know, like, why do they walk like that? And I think that's how she's wired. She can just research and how to put those elements into her dance. That makes her very special.
She's incredible.
Yeah, and it never stops. I can tell you that.
I don't think her mind ever rests at all.
Yes, no, it's always on. Always on.
Something that she's thinking about, how to improve this and how to improve that. She's given that to us too, that you can always improve. There's always room for improvement. And whether you're dancing or whether just being a person, she's always telling us, even to this day, she'll tell me, oh, you can always improve.
Yeah, I was actually going to pass it to you, Yuka, as an artist yourself and as someone who had a chance to get to know this whole group so well in the process. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I know June from the museum because she volunteers there. But Miyako, I met you through this project. And yeah, as the editor, it's hard to condense a lifetime in 6 minutes. And, this video was commissioned by the Smithsonian, so it had to be, within a certain length. And yeah, very, I wanted to try to get, all the highlights, but this is really wonderful to have the conversation because these stories, these specific moments are not in the film. And yeah, there's 102 years is a long time. um, so I have a huge respect for her, and kabuki is so beautiful. And at the 100th celebration at JCCC, I remember there was a short performance there, and I was so blown away. I had not seen kabuki live before, and just the colors, the green, the gold, the red, and the instruments, the specific sounds that are designed all together, crafted, is and it reminds me of Japan too. So yeah, that was, I thought, that's, yeah, that must, imagining camp to see that must have been really memorable and impressionable. And yeah, I saw the 2018 Nisei Week too, on First Street, and I didn't know it was Kansuma Kai, but I saw all of you guys lined up next to Go for Broke, and you were all in your costumes, and I was like, wow, what group is this? Because you guys, stood out completely, like out of all the other like participating organizations. Everyone's just in their kind of casual clothes, but you guys show up like all professional. And I think there's a photo of it in the series I sent you, Joy, where it's like the purple and the white and the hat and the red. I think there's some red in it. I don't know if you wanted to talk. I'm curious of how the costumes are designed.
Oh my
Is
God.
it something that she thinks about, or does she work with a costume designer?
Kansuma City has been doing this week for many years. And so we have like a collection of Nisei Week kimonos. I mean, quite a collection. And so at this point, we just, her gift for color and ensemble is just really remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point in time, she combines, we're going to use that jiban, which is like the underwear, and we're going to use that kimono, and then we're going to lift this up, and then we're going to make a kasa, and then we're going to bring out a, and she just kind of just puts it all together, and everyone goes crazy doing it, executing all her ideas. But at the end, it goes, wow, Osho-san was right. It looked really good. But I mean, the vision is the vision, but executing the vision is a big part of it too. And she has wonderful students, wonderful parent body, and it wouldn't be possible without them. Yeah, and the flags are so nice.
Mm.
Yes, the shocking pink is a very popular one. We use that ensemble a lot.
Speaking of costumes, we actually had an audience question that said that I read that at some point camp authorities gave her permission to return to LA to pick up costumes and records, and they must have been really impressed with her. Has she shared any memories of how they treated her or of that experience?
As far as I could tell, when I talked to my mother about camp, she never felt any hostility from the administrators. Like, she really felt like they were there to help, and they were there to help make the best out of a bad situation. And I think she was so consumed with, teaching at the different camps and teaching at Rohwer, and then performing here and there, that I think that just took up all of her time and the preparation of, you know, getting and then ordering the Sears catalog, you know, getting the kimono ready, getting the, I mean, it's endless. So I don't think well, maybe that's just her character too, not to share any negative experiences, but as far as I can tell, she just thinks the most of Dr. Hunter. And when I read his book, I just had, you know, I just thought he was a really special person.
I want to add to that when she was invited to dance in Amachi, there wasn't a place big enough for her to dance in. So they had to build an outdoor stage, I heard. And she had such a large audience, an outdoor theater, that it just, everyone wanted to see her dance. She was like I say, an icon. And that's when I heard that men had tears in their eyes just watching her dance. She was so beautiful. And she brought out the very best in everybody in camp. And it was just magical just watching her dance. I think I'll never forget that image because she danced to make us all happy. She danced for her audience. And that was her big, that made her happy, that made us happy, watching her dance.
Yeah, you described her as like a rock star in the era of the camp days, and that people were like outside her barrack while she practiced.
People were crowded around her wherever she went. She had her followers wherever she went. She just stood out. But she was naturally beautiful anyway. And then when she got up to dance, it was even more. And you just be blown away by her.
I think my mother has this stage presence that's really, truly remarkable. And then she emanates this aura that just kind of like comes out of her, which is, you know, really a gift. I mean, it's really a gift. And so, and I think artists like that don't come along. Okay.
Does she want to come back?
I guess it got a little long for her.
The surprise is ruined.
Would you like to invite her on, or
do you think now you do want me to? Why don't
Sure.
why don't I, can you click me off?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's true, but she has that aura about her that, you know, everybody that has ever seen her or watched her or been her student, it's just magical. It's hard to describe the aura that she produces around her. And I think I think I am so privileged. I feel so privileged that I saw her dance. For so many of her students, they've never seen her dance on stage. So I really feel privileged. And the other part of it is, I don't think I could ever forget her. The images of her dancing on stage or dancing, I don't think I could ever forget. I see it all the time. So I feel very lucky that I did get to see her dance like that. And like Miyako says, so many of her students now, and even herself, she never got to see her mother dance those beautiful dances on stage.
I wanted to share this picture because I know you really wanted to show it. And also because I did want to, I think you kind of answered it, but I really wanted to ask, like, what is one of the biggest lessons or impacts that she had? Because do you want to explain this picture first too? Because I think this shows how long you've known and admired her work.
I'm in the middle right under her in this picture. She's standing between myself and another girl. I think her name is Kyoko. And I'm really sorry that I don't know everybody's name here. But standing next to Osho-san is Michiko Sato Ikeda. And then I'm not sure the girl next to her, but then there's Miki Azeka. And then in the front row to the very left, far left, is Midori Yoshida. And I really feel embarrassed that I can't remember everybody's name. This was one of the thrilling moments that we had dancing at the Hollywood Bowl back in, I thought it was 1939 or 1940, but just before the war. And we were all dressed in these little sailor costumes with the Japan flag and the American flag. And we did this dance. I remember that.
Yeah.
And you still dance, right?
No, I can't dance at all. But
You've taught us at the museum before, though. I know. I remember you taught us the Nisei Week special dance. I think when I first started here.
I had a lot of help from the other students of Kansuma. They did most of the teaching, and I just kind of like was standing around.
Yuka, there's a question that I think maybe you could help talk about, but in making the video of this remarkable woman, this is from John, were there any interesting challenges or stories about her participation? Or like, I guess, challenges to, or exciting things you learned about making the film?
Oh, exciting things. Well, I thought it was really unique for her to go to Japan at that time because it was still like early 1900s. So, that's, yeah, you don't really hear that. So that was very unique. And in the interviews that we collected, I remember Miyako emphasized how she was given the gift of dancing the mirror line dance, Kagami Jishi. So I really tried to emphasize that as kind of like a focal point. And I know Onoe Kikugoro, the teacher, also gifted her the name Kansuma. So she went by Sumako up until then, and then professionally up until now, she's now referenced as Fujima Kansuma. So that was new to me, and then also her dancing at camp. I had not heard that before, like, being invited and then having all the stages being made specifically for her too. You guys touched on how wide of a group effort it was and how so many people were involved to construct the stage and the costumes and stuff. So that was really incredible. I think those were the two key points in the 6 minutes that I really wanted to highlight. But I mean, since making it and having a relationship with Miyako and June, and yeah, hearing these kind of other side stories also like enhances the whole experience of being a filmmaker, and just the chance to be introduced to this, and then the chance to tell in film form.
Yeah. And I think that one of the other questions I had for you, June, was I wonder if there are any lessons that you think that young dancers now should take from this film, or from, or that you particularly found important in all your years studying with this master dancer.
Well, she always emphasizes to me, even when I talk to her today, that there's always room for improvement. And she doesn't mean just dancing. She means as a person. She says, you can always find yourself to do something kind for somebody, be kind be kinder, and my phone. So I think she tries to emphasize not only being a good dancer, but being a better person. And I think that's why my mother started my lessons with her when I was 5 years old. And even now, when I see her today, even though I'm in my 80s now, I still feel like I'm still 7 years old when I'm with her. I cannot never get rid of that feeling that I'm like a 7-year-old child in front of her. She's an amazing woman. And she has such great patience with everybody. Even as we're trying to learn dancing, and she makes us do it over and over till we get it down perfect. The eyes, the hand, the foot, everything has to be perfect. And she will just stay with us until we can do it. And I think she has to be such a, a person of patience for her to be able to put up with all of us. And then we all have to dance the same way. We all have to be on time. We have to all be in the same mindset, even. And she could tell right away when somebody is off, and she'll let us know.
Yeah, I think that it's just really, when I heard that you had been a student for so many years, I was like, that's incredible. Like, what a honor to be able to learn from a lifetime of teachings. So I'm grateful also that you made the time. And then someone in the chat said that you also twirled a baton in camp. So
that was my other talent.
So
I can't dance and I can't twirl the baton anymore. But I have great memories.
Yeah, and we're so grateful that you're able to share them today.
It's been an honor to be here.
Yeah.
She has, she's taught, I think, maybe over 1,000 students all through the years. And so I feel very, very lucky that I'm just one of them. And so many of our students have gone on to be what they call the natori, which is a dancer with a name, a teaching credential. And she's I don't know how many natoris she's produced, but
I think around 40, 42 or something. Yeah, 42 exactly.
No, it was quite a number of women or girls that can do that, be a natori. I never was that good. Good. Be a natori. But I think I owe everything that I've learned, I owe to her. She's my constant teacher, my mentor. And I would say everything that I've learned, I learned from her.
Yeah. And I think that the fact that was able to have this celebration of her life that this film was initially made for, and yeah, I'm really excited that this was all able to come together in this way. Let me check if there's any more audience questions.
And I think, Yuka, you all did such a great job on her video. I really liked everything that was in that video. You did a great job.
Well, you gave a great interview. You said like everything we wanted. So it wasn't that hard because of the material. The only thing that was hard, like I said, was like to pick what was the best. But you gave such a good interview.
I wonder if you want to talk about one more. Oh, I think we're actually joined again. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
So, I don't think she's going to be joining us today.
Okay.
Yeah, well, no worries at all. I'm glad to have you here, and that you're able to kind of speak on this legacy. We were just talking, June was talking about being a student and, yeah, being such a long time student and learning and having such an influence on her life. So I just wanted, I think that to kind of close us out, since we're coming up to 7 o'clock, I was wondering if you had any lessons or anything that you think that young dancers should take from this film and from this her life and legacy.
Okay, so I think her art and her artistry and her love for her art and her artistry has brought communities together, has brought people together, has built relationships, has sparked beauty, sparked joy, sparked hope during uncertain times. And in rare instances, it has touched people's soul. And I really think that's a gift from God. And I think that she's used her gift generously, abundantly, and graciously. And I think that's a worthy endeavor. So if you have that gift, I encourage you to use it and follow in her footsteps.
I definitely agree. Thank you so much. And I think that's going to be about it for us today. Is there any last words that any of you would all like to share?
Thank you so much. It was really fun, and
This was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much as well. And to everyone who's watching, if you haven't had a chance to watch the film yet, it is online on this YouTube channel, so definitely check it out. Definitely also read the Smithsonian Institute article that gives a little more background written by Yuka. And then finally, if you liked what you saw today and enjoyed this program, we really hope you just decide consider supporting JANM, becoming a member or donating. We really appreciate your support in this time. And as we mentioned, it's really important for us all to stay connected. And so we're grateful that you joined us here tonight. And with that, gonna say good night to everyone, stay safe, and thank you so much to all these wonderful guests today. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.